Hi, it's Kelly. I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes about some emotional stability. In Alcoholics Anonymous and in recovery, they talk a lot about emotional maturity. Like when you've stopped an addiction, you pick your life back up, and there's a lot of maturity levels that you didn't experience when you were numb. Well, I think this is more not just an alcoholics issue, but I think any sickness and any dis-ease is an emotional immaturity or imbalance. And the Chinese medicine talks a lot about that, like if you're overthinking too much, or if you're even too happy, or if you're too excited, it's qi out. And the healing mind and the mathematical equation for healing is you have like a checklist of I do this and this and this, and it's all healing and chi in. And then if I'm thinking angry thoughts, boom, you got to take 2 or 3 of those off of the A list. It's you don't get the luxury, the dubious luxury of being angry and upset, and it imbalances your organs. And so to antidote for that, they recommend that you do what's opposite of that. So if the lung is grief, then you would want to feel joy, that kind of thing. So there's just a counterbalance. So it doesn't mean that you deny the sadness. It just means that you don't run with it. And, there's nothing wrong with crying when somebody dies, but to cry for 5 years like I did when my mom died, a little extreme and not necessary, and really toxic for the whole world and your cells, and so on and so forth. And I really learned later in life. I was pretty emotionally immature, and I still can be, still am. And but I learned, that to ask myself, is this grief or is it self-pity? And mostly it was self-pity. And if I had known that tool even younger, that would have been beneficial. I really didn't know. I was run with emotions and triggers and reactions. And to be able to try to come from this place of being the calm that's in the middle of the storm when you're got a normal mind is a challenge. But when you have frontal temporal dementia or anything in the frontal lobe, like you snap and go crazy at the most random stuff. And so for many years, my antidote was to really, question everything that I did and make sure I did it right, and go clean it up when I didn't. And I still do that a lot. But what I also found is that caused a lot of overthinking, which is still an imbalance. So now I'm coming, since I've healed a lot of that reactivity and really inappropriateness through Qigong and through many different types of practices of Qigong that I continually practice every day, I still now have come to this new revelation that I don't need to even overthink my behaviors and my patterns that much. If I have something to clean it up, I can do it very quickly. And to analyze and chop up is really of the ego. Either it's peaceful and loving or it's not. And that's what I love about the Course in Miracles, that it says, there is only 2 things. There's love or fear. And so if I'm in fear, which is opposite of love, then either I can clean it up or I can balance out the emotion. So that's the best medicine that I've been able to find. And there's all kinds of ways of doing that. One way is just really, really realize that mastery is being happy now, no matter what. Just looking at the big blue sky and being happy, because this is your life and this is your moments, and you can choose to be happy no matter what's going on. And when you do that, you'd be really surprised at how oh my gosh, so many of the symptoms just simmer down and real healing can occur. So I'm very excited to talk about this today and to really suggest about this mastery of, disciplining your mind to have, big thoughts, like thinking really big, past the big deep blue sky, like thinking of the whole universe and just expanding into this huger picture of what is really so. So when you're balancing out the emotions, it's not like you go into denial and you say there's no grief. You give grief its time, but then when you feel your upset coming, you don't go into a full-blown tantrum over it. You can, feel the feeling and not go into where you're having to blow your nose and your whole body's totally reactive because you're so emotional. And that is possible. And my dad died in January, and I've had a lot of deaths since I've been diagnosed. So I'm not being, pompous or pious when I'm saying this. I'm just saying that I have found that I can go and connect with them soul to soul, and I can feel sad for a moment, and then I can also really be happy that I've had the time with them and know that it's neutral, that everyone dies, and it's just part of the path. And part of this emotional maturity and part of this expanding to the universe, with a life-ending diagnosis, when you're sent to palliative care and chronic care conditions, and you're told the things that you're told when you have, a terminal, aggressive, violent, vicious disease, you get ready to die. Like going into the sky and expanding into the sky and thinking about flying to, meet my maker and get back home is a really beautiful experience. It's really surrendering from all of this insanity, from even this insanity of having dementia and being confused and catching yourself on fire and doing crazy things and, really just the trauma. And another really important suggestion is don't romance your symptoms. Don't get, like, I used to, have a symptom and then I'd want to go on the internet and figure it all out and see what all these nightmares that it was bringing, and it's almost like, romancing your symptoms. And what I say is just love the symptom and then go back to your business of being happy and find a practice that that medically treats any of these kinds of conditions. Zhineng Qi is the only one I know that handles everything, and you don't have to have a diagnosis. And 99.9 times out of 10, they're wrong with their diagnoses anyway. So I figure the less you try to solve it and figure it out, and the more that you practice, and the more that you really embody this happiness. I really embody this grace and this happiness, regardless of what's seemingly going on. And this abundant mind, everything seems to work out way better than I ever could have planned it. And when I'm clinging and I'm hanging on, my symptoms come up a million times. And this affects everything because energy is energy. And your mind is connected to energy. So when you're thinking loving, beautiful, peaceful, happy thoughts, you're making a difference for yourself, and your blood cells and your whole immune system's organizing those kind of thoughts to conspire with you. But you're also imprinting the whole planet and the whole universe with that, and that is some serious power. And when we get into those kinds of ideas and feel the empowerment and feel the difference that we're making and see the light that we bring on for people when they're like, oh my God, how are you? And they look at you all horrified and you're like, I'm really good. They're like, what? Like, they don't even know exactly what to say about that. But we can be good. We can be phenomenal in spite of these diseases and diagnoses. And you can watch through my videos and you know that I have had a lot of improvements, and there's way more to come because there's so much good information staying on that wavelength and that mindset. I can't believe the people that have come in contact with me that are sharing such epically great healing information that's so powerful and so effective, and short little practices that are actually really beautiful. And I just, I've always been a seeker. And so for me, I just want to awaken to the divine and enlightenment and embodiment. So this is not torture for me. This is what I had been doing for years before I even got diagnosed. And this just gives me a great opportunity to go all the way, because I can see when I'm doing it, it works. My hands aren't crippled up and killing me and waking me up 5 times at night, and they feel like normal hands, and they feel so like they're starting to get relaxed, and I'm just impressed, and I just am so happy to have any good news to share, let alone this much good news. I never saw that coming, and it's brilliant, and that's possible for everyone. So I just want to give a little plug for, not this fake manic happiness, but just this intuitive happiness that it's like, this is my moment. I can either be miserable or I can be happy, and I'm just going to be happy right now. No matter what the story is, no matter what's going on, no matter how insane it feels or seems, we can choose to be happy. And that is empowerment, and that is great medicine, and it's more valuable than anything in this world. So bless you. I hope you're having a really happy moment. Now extend it, and extend it, and extend it. All right, sweet dreams.